Hello, my name is Pavlos Kranas. I'm working for LeanXcale, part of the HumAIne project, and this is, as Brian said, a joint webinar about human AI collaboration standards. We'll start firstly with an introductory part, setting the scene, why the standards actually matter, and we'll give an overview of the current standardization bodies or other initiatives in the context of Europe and beyond. Then we'll go through a brief overview of the current landscape, see the existing AI and human AI standards, and how they are linked to EU policy international frameworks. Then the next slots, one is dedicated to the HumAIne project, giving firstly the project overview, how we link the pilot, the different verticals of the pilots with the challenges for contributing to the standards, industry association, and policy development. Then the last part is dedicated to the ENFIELD project, giving the overview of the project and the relevant contribution to standards. Let's start. Firstly, as you know, the human AI collaboration is a social technical system, and it's not just an AI with a user interface. Rather than it's a social technical system that involves different aspects like humans, AI models, interfaces, organizational processes, and also we need to also remind the social and ethical constraints that have been brought due to this collaboration with the human and the technical AI parts. So standards are needed to manage this complexity in a coherent way. So from traditional part that we used to work, we have the shift from automation, what we used to do a couple of years ago. Then AI was involved to actually enforce decision support. But right now, during this current period, we have this collaboration of human and with humans and the AI. So AI system now increasingly share the control with the human, adapt to human behavior, and also be able to influence the decisions made by humans. So this collaboration between AI and the human are introducing new risks and responsibilities. So it's very hard to define this human AI collaboration, as there is no singular accurate definition about what this collaboration means, what teams is meaning, and how the human-centered AI should do. So there are different disciplines that use different terminologies, and this is why standards came into the play to help establish these shared concepts and boundaries between human and AI systems. So there is a fragmentation across disciplines and sectors. So the human AI collaboration can span from the AI machine learning, from human and computer interaction, influencing factors and ergonomics, while they also influence ethics, laws, and the safety. So without appropriate standards, all these approaches remain siloed to the specific domain, the specific sector, and the results coming through this collaboration are not comparable or cannot be transferable across the sectors. So right now, we need to mature the research versus the deployment readiness. So there are many human AI methods that used to validate control settings, but they are difficult to scale or to deploy. But however, industry and public sector need clear guidance on how to guide this human AI collaboration and to be able to formulate standard processes that can be repeatable and reusable. That's why standards now can be used to be able to support the technology transfer from the different sectors. That means that standards can be used as a shared reference points that can provide a common vocabulary to be used across different domains, be able to establish agreed principles, and to decide and follow baseline requirements for this human AI collaboration. That will enable communication between different stakeholders being involved into these complex systems and force the alignment across different projects and organizations. This is also very important in a multinational context like European Union, right? So to be able to enable this comparability and evaluation, the human AI collaboration is very difficult to measure. So that's why standards also help to define this evaluation criteria to be able to define performance KPI indicators and to be able to use for the validation of the established processes. This will support the benchmarking and the evidence-based design of these complex AI systems that we are building today. We'll be able to support safety and risk management as the collaborative AI can influence the human decisions when created over-reliance or automation bias, and can be also fail in unpredictable ways. So that's why the standards, again, can help identify this risk that could be foreseeable so that we can make process and mitigation strategies for that in order to have safe operating conditions for all these complex systems to be able to work in a safely manner. Human must have the oversight and the control. So that means that collaboration between the AI part requires meaningful human involvement. So the key questions here are when actually humans should intervene in this automated AI process, how much autonomy is appropriate for the AI system, and how the control can be transferred from the AI system back to the humans to be able to intervene when it has been defined that is appropriate. That's why now standards can help to translate these abstract principles into an operational guidance and provide the baseline for this human AI collaboration. Another important thing is trustness. So trust is not just a user experience feature that we can use it, to help or to have a more enhanced, let's say, AI decision, but so that the humans can understand actually what the prediction might be or why a decision has been taken. But rather than trust is something more important than that, and emerges from a predictable behavior. So that means that having established all the previous guidelines and baselines for the human AI collaboration, we have the trust that the behavior of the system can be predictable and transparent, and also be able to define the proper boundaries of the overall system, when it should work autonomously and where the humans should intervene, and at the appropriate level to be able to put a human decision there. At poorly designed collaboration can erode the trust and increase the misuse or the disuse of the overall system. That's why the standards here again can help to define this trust supporting decision principle in order to have this predictable behavior and transparency and be able to trust exactly that the system, the AI system can actually do. Our explainability also plays a critical role here that also facilitates the trust, but also can be brought in a collaborative context. So explainability is a feature that it's not a one-size-fits-all, let's say, rather than the human AI collaboration requires to have context-dependent explanations. So we need to build explainable features specific for that particular context or that particular domain, and also requires a timely and actionable feedback when the decision needs to be taken. That's why the standards again here help to see when the explanations are actually needed and from whom and for what purpose. Interoperability across systems and across collaborative teams are also a very critical part, as collaborative AI systems rarely operate in isolation rather than communicate with other components. And here it's where standards actually support the interoperability between the tools and the platforms, and also the integration of new processes into the existing workflows. And this is critical for large scale and cross-organizational deployment when actually these collaborative systems are mostly noticed. A life cycle perspective of the human AI collaboration evolves over time, addressing aspects both in the design of the system, the training of the system, the actual deployment of the system, and finally, monitoring and adaptation of the running AI complex system. And that's why standards promote a fully life cycle view and can prevent the focus only on the model performance, rather than gives an overall insight about all the process of this collaboration, from the design, train, deployment, and the runtime adaptability. Also, it helps to address the bias and other human factors that can be intervened to the system, as biases arises from, as you know, from data, from a model that is not very well adaptive to the particular use case, and also to the human interpretation and misuse of the overall system. So here is why standards can integrate into human factors, ergonomics, and can take into account other ethical considerations in order to support an inclusive and fair collaboration between the human part and the AI system. Also, accountability should be also a key factor in such collaborative systems to see who is responsible when AI suggests something. A human intervention decides about the suggestions, but we should be able to account if the outcomes are actually harmful or useful or whatever the result of that collaboration would be. So that's also how standards can help to clarify roles and responsibilities between the human and the AI part, and also be able to have everything pretty well documented in order to help the traceability of the decision making. And this is also essential for legal and organization accountability, as you know, if the results of these actions have some significant, have some impact, and this impact have some legal consideration, we need to have to trace back who was responsible when, who took the decisions, and what was the outcome, and what was the impact of this type of outcomes. We need to also reduce the uncertainty for developers and users. So here, the lack of standards creates the uncertainty of the design, uncertainty of compliance, and also introduce barriers of the adoption of the overall system. That's why standards also can provide this predictability and also the confidence on the design of the overall system in order to encourage wider uptake of these human AI systems. Now, as we have defined initially, this research project that mostly of us are involved, we have defined many best practices. The outcomes of such projects are also, reported and shared with the European Commission, so that can create these best practices that already exist in the research. But there, the standardization is one thing, one layer on top, taking these best practices, and this consolidates them into mature knowledge that can be able to be used and to be adopted broadly, can be applicable in the new system that have been currently developed and are compliant with the standardization bodies. This transforms the innovation that's been created through all these projects into shared norms that can be used and applied in the future. Why this matters actually for this research project is that these projects that we are usually taking part of are unique position to experiment with new collaboration models and validate them in real context in the pilot use cases that we have. So here, standardization ensures the long-term impact of this experimentation and the outcomes of our projects to be able to be aligned also with the European values. So this sets the stage for this project standardization contributions. Now, key standardization bodies relevant to human AI collaboration can be taken from international level, like IEEE, about ethics, human AI interactions, other autonomous systems. Also, in a European level, so we have the certificate standardization initiatives that be increasing the focus on AI systems, human factors, and also trustworthiness, which, as again I said, it's a very important part. Also, we have a European policy and a regulatory context that's been currently built or tried to be adapted. So we have strong interaction between the standards and the regulation in Europe, and we have key drivers achieving that: the EU AI Act, the Digital Europe and the Horizon Europe programs, also the European AI strategy that comes into the play. These harmonized standards now are expected to support this regulatory compliance and provide practical guidance for implementation of human AI collaborative system. So this collaboration, this human AI collaboration is directly relevant to a high-risk AI use cases. Also in HumAIne and also in ENFIELD, we'll see later on how we design these critical and high-risk systems for different types of sectors. Now, the roles of these such projects and standardization is for them to act as firstly early testing grounds for these emerging standards, try to involve them into the particular use case and to contribute in technical expertise and the use cases that we are building. So typical contributions include technical reports coming from all these projects and all the white papers, inputs to different working groups that we are trying or we are currently be part of, and to be able to start some pre-standardization activities with the liaison with all the standardization bodies. So this webinar positions the project with these standardization ecosystems. Having put it now the intro, let's check what is the current landscape about existing human AI standards and how they are linked to EU policy international frameworks. So why we look at these current landscapes? Firstly, because there is a rapid growth of AI standards in the recent years. As you know, the technology is involved and now is almost everything AI enhanced, let's say, systems. Human AI collaboration cuts across multiple standardization domains, as we saw in the introductory part. So the landscape is very rich, but super fragmented. So understanding what exists, avoiding the duplications, and helps the alignment of the support. So we have different type of categories for relevant standards that can be adopted. Firstly, it's about ethics and trustworthiness, risk management and safety, governance and management systems, other human factors and their interactions, interoperability and of the systems and the collaborative system, also taking into account the data exchange between all the different components. And you can see that the human AI collaboration spans across all these different types of topics that was initially introduced in the previous slide. Regarding now the ethics and the trustworthy AI standards, we can focus on principles rather than technical implementation, which might be the case in the data exchange or the interoperability part. Here, in the ethics, we address human agency, transparency, fairness, and also, most importantly, the accountability of the decision-making. So that means that we will provide normative foundations for this human AI collaboration. ISO GTC, this type of working groups is a central forum for that. These standards addressing trustworthiness concepts, bias, data, models, robustness, transparency, so that they can increase the attention to the human involvement and oversight of these collaborative systems. Standards on ethically aligned AI, they bring strong emphasis on human well-being, social impact, and human control, where they are relevant for the human AI interactions, in order to build autonomous and intelligent systems with the oversight of the humans in order to support and provide this emphasis on this human well-being, impact, and human control. So they are closer to design and system behavior rather to putting more details on the technical details on the implementation and integration of all these internal components. So there is a gap between high-level ethics and real systems, so that as they are focusing on the wider and upper level aspects, but the standards increasingly aim to translate this value into requirements, that these requirements will be used to support the implementation decisions in order to be able to develop and maintain and adapt this modern complex human AI systems. So that's why human AI collaboration is a key for this operational challenge. Now, regarding the other aspect, regarding safety and risk management, safety concerns extend beyond the physical harm and includes cognitive overload, over-reliance, or other decision errors. So human AI collaboration introduces this shared risk. So a risk-based perspective dominates the current standards, and they are focusing on identifying foreseeable risk, be able to define mitigation measures when this risk can appear. So we can also be able to put a continuous monitoring to be able to identify when this risk come into the play and to be able to apply these mitigation measures for that. So this aligns with what we are calling human in the loop type of thinking. So humans can also be there to intervene and to be able to monitor and interact when it's needed. So we have a shift from product level to organization level now, standards that addresses governance, processes, roles, and responsibilities. So human AI collaboration is now embedded in complex AI workflow and not just in the software interacting with the UI to be able to do a decision, rather than it's been embedded in all this AI pipeline or workflow. So, there is a long tradition in ergonomics that covers workload, situational awareness, and usability, and it's increasingly relevant for AI assisted decision making. However, there are gaps in the traditional human factor standards that many predate modern AI systems, and there's a limited coverage of adaptive behavior, learning systems, and shared autonomy. So there is opportunity for human AI collaboration specific standards. Regarding now the interoperability and the technical standards, we are going down deep to the more technical part. The focus is on data formats when it comes to data exchange, interfaces, so that can be able to adapt it more broadly, and also to the overall. This comes into the overall system integration. So this enables AI systems to work across different platforms and be able to be embedded in complex environments and be deployed in different systems. But this is necessary, but not sufficient for this collaboration. Collaboration might involve multiple AI components, while also multiple human roles that comes into the play. So interoperability must consider firstly semantic understanding and also the context sharing, which is still an emerging area in the overall standardization activities. So the EU policy-driven approach requires strong alignment between policies, regulations, and standardization. So that's why standards are a key implementation tool here, and that's why human-centric AI is a core principle in the European Union. So the EU AI Act, which is relevant for the standards, is a risk-based regulatory framework where human oversight is a legal requirement for high-risk AI systems. So harmonized standards are expected to be able to operationalize legal requirements and to provide a presumption of conformity. So here, human AI collaboration is directly impacted by the EU AI Act. But what's the role? It's been developed by these specific bodies, and they help to translate these policy goals into the technical guidance that needs to be followed by the AI complex systems in order to provide legal certainty and to be able to give practical compliance pathways. So there is a major opportunity for research input, and that's why all these projects that we are involved are to contribute to these bodies. We need to have an international alignment, goes beyond Europe, as AI systems and market are global, and we need international aligned standards, be able to avoid fragmentation across different standardization bodies or activities taking all over the globe. That's why we have this ISO IEEE Act as global governance points. Also, as we are focusing also on ethics, there are also UNESCO, for instance, and other soft law frameworks that are not binding, but they are influential frameworks, emphasize on human rights, democratic values, human-centered AI, the values, the European values that we share, and we try, to push and to be able to influence the standards in order to shape the language and the direction of the development of those standards. So international frameworks define what, but the standards define how. And this is where EU context adds the regulatory enforcement, the regulatory compliance, and also impacts the overall market, as the human AI collaboration sits at this intersection. What now the landscape means for EU projects is crowded but involved in standards ecosystem, but there is a clear demand for evidence-based guidance and use case-driven contributions. So here is why EU projects can bridge the policy, standards, and practice, in order also to shape future human AI collaboration standards. So given the first intro and the current landscape, now we are going into these two projects and see what we are doing actually, how we are contributing to standards, and what are the actions that we are willing to uptake. Starting from the HumAIne project. The HumAIne project is part of the Horizon Research, a currently ongoing project with 17 partners, 3 years project across spans about 12 countries. We have diverse partners from universities, research institutes, large industries, and other SMEs. It's a joint effort of 17 partners to create what we are calling operational system to enhance the collaboratives between human and AI, and to be able to empower an AI solution integrators with a platform for advanced decision-making in this dynamic and structured environment across the 5 different sectors that we have in the pilot. So we are paving the way for a future where AI enhances rather than replaces the human potential. So we offer a revolutionary operating system for a human AI collaboration, a platform to facilitate the advanced decision-making in application across different domains, as you see, and a training and a vibrant community of interest parties. The operating system integrates cutting-edge technologies to a single operating system to transform the landscape of decision-making and empowers AI solution integrators to create collaborative systems that surpass standalone AI and the human capabilities. We are using generative AI and different types of paradigms like active learning, SWAL learning, neurosymbolic learning, and also advanced AI explainability that we saw that was also a key factor into the current domain. We have 5 different domains, from smart manufacturing, smart cities, healthcare, finance, and energy. And now we'll see what are the challenges of all this. Firstly, for the smart manufacturing, there is a risk-based classification in the AI Act that might categorize collaborative robots as high risk, impacting compliance borders. That's why they have the requirements from transparency and human oversight support to be able to build safer human AI interaction. This encourages innovation and explainable AI system to build the trust between operators and AI system. That we also could slow down the deployment of adaptive AI in small manufacturers, as there is a need for certification demands, unless sandboxes provisions are used, sandboxes that can be used and deployed into the production. But also offers a market differentiation. A certified human-centric AI system can create very competitive advantages. Now, regarding smart systems, usually there is AI system for traffic control, surveillance, other public service deliverable. So that promotes the co-design of AI solutions with the citizens for fairness, explainability, agency key, the agency key is a key factor, trustness, etc. This pushes the municipalities to invest in accountability framework in AI decision-making, and also supports the human-in-the-loop systems for critical decisions in the city's infrastructures or for mobility or emergency response. But this is the challenge to align the local innovation with this complex EU compliance that much lower smaller city projects. Regarding healthcare, AI is used for diagnosis, decision support, patient monitoring, and classifies as high riskly and requires robust human oversight protocols. That's how AI Act strengthens the ethical obligation for informed human decision-making and not to blind reliance on just algorithms and AI models. This encourages the development of clinical AI collaboration platforms with real-time explainability and auditability. So there is a research in the human AI collaboration for care deliverable that's boosted by demand for a trustworthy AI systems. There is potential delays in innovation here in the sector because due to the regulatory complexity, unless also the use of regulatory sandboxes are effectively utilized. For smart finance, there's a high risk designation, likely for credit scoring or fraud detection. An AI Act promotes transparency and consultability, enable human experts to be able to meaningfully interact and override AI decisions. So we have a shift from the black box models to interpretable financial AI that fosters the stronger human AI partnerships. This may impact fast-moving fintechs, but also boost customer trust and long-term adaptation. So human AI collaboration is needed for ethics by design in this financial decision-making, which is what modern fintechs startups are trying to build. Regarding smart energy, AI is used in energy grid optimization or other consumption prediction, and it's largely a non-risk unless it's tied to critical infrastructure of the country, let's say. This encourages hybrid decision-making as AI aids human operations, balancing the loads or forecasting the demands or reacting to outages. Don't forget what happened a year ago in the Spanish Peninsula when we have a critical cutoff of the overall system because that was not, the human cannot respond to the forecasted demand. This promotes a resilient AI system that keeps humans in the loop for emergency handling, as in the case that I just explained. Research impact here emphasis on transparent and adaptable AI that assists rather than replaces human experts, but there is a business opportunity for AI compliance that becomes a selling point for sustainable human-centered energy technologies. The expected impact for the project is that AI Act shifts from the focus from just innovation to responsible and collaborative AI and hence decision-making across the different sectors. Regarding the societal impact, ensures AI transparency, fairness, ensures AI respects rights, drives significant scientific impact in the European research, while we are using explainable and user-centered design and co-adaptive systems. Also, it's a positive impact in the European community by developing trusted high-performance human-centered applications, and human-centered AI offer a competitive edge in trust-driven markets. Regarding contributions to standards, firstly, in the first year of the project, we started to identify existing standards that HumAIne technologies already compliance, possibly standardization bodies that might be of interest, and we started with an early engagement with industry associations. Now, the second part of the project, we are focusing on existing and emerging standards that are relevant to the use case of the project, to categorize and prioritize these standards according to the pilots and identify and collaborate and start collaborating with key industry associations. Also be able to map the open public forums relevant to the human AI recommendations, trying to get all the recommendations from the first reporting period, now what comes into play to the last phase of the project. So, as I said, regarding different pilots, different domains, we have different challenges and different standards might apply. So for smart manufacturing, the standards of interest should be relied with the transparency, human oversight, safety, the risk of cobots, and human AI collaborations. That's why we have identified the applicable standards for trustworthiness, robustness, and explainability. However, there is no more active learning standards for adaptive cobot training, which is something an area that we can also seems to be of interest and we might need to tackle. Regarding smart cities, the interest goes to explainability, fairness, and accountability. That's why we have the applicable standards that are focusing on risk management, bias, and EU harmonized compliance. However, there is also limited standardization on citizen in the loop governance models. Regarding smart healthcare, there are standards of interest are related with the robust oversight, with auditability, and the clinician AI collaboration. That's again, standards are focusing on explainability, on explainable principles, and also about outputs that can be used for usability and oversight. However, there are lack of standards in neurosymbolic reasoning in the clinical AI, which is also very important for the transparent diagnosis, the reasoning of the diagnosis. For smart finance, still, explainability is a key factor along the human AI collaboration. That's why the applicable standards are also related with transparency, with bias, with trustworthiness standards, but still no harmonized standards on active learning for fraud detection or adaptive models for high-risk domains. Rather than in the smart energy, standards of interest are towards explainability and resilience. And that's why the applicable standards also are related with this domain. So, as a result, we have identified for the HumAIne, the highly important standards are the ones that are being presented in the right part, especially in explainability, work items, in robustness, security, to be able to ensure EU harmonized standards to be aligned with the project's human AI collaboration results. Also, we take the family of IEEE for adopting governance and ethics-related standards. We think regarding industry association, why matters because associations drive the policy standardization and marketing adoption. We have different multipliers for the HumAIne results and be able to ensure the alignment with the EU AI Act. So there are different partnerships by domain, and we have been identified, and we have also cross-cutting and trustworthiness standardization of industry associations that can be used, that can be also in our interest. The most important of those, ARTO, that represents more than 300 research technology organizations, Influence Horizon Europe, and AI Act, and act as a policy multiplier to ensure research-driven perspectives. BDVI, BDVA focuses mostly in data spaces, trustworthy analytics, but also industrial AI ecosystems. I can produce several reports, position papers, and also create the corresponding BDVF events. Connects all the AI research with the large-scale industrial pilots. ADRA is a private side of the AI data robotics. It's a direct channel for research to standardization influence and publishes also different reports, papers, and organize this AI partnership events. The engagement is a priority for HumAIne. We are still trying to use this association as a formal EU-level interfaces to disseminate the project outputs, to influence the standardization and policy uptake, and to build a long-term research industry partnership. Regarding policy development, the focus initially was on the technical outcomes and early evaluation across the use cases. So there was a limited scope for developing policy recommendation. However, the current focus is the map of policy large scale to EU national level, and to be able to monitor ongoing initiatives and regulatory frameworks, and to be able to explore the participation in public consultations, policy dialogues, or other stakeholder forums. We have started attending this type of events, and the target objective is to engage in a cross-sector and sectoral consultations in order to align the project recommendations with the EU AI Act implementation and the national strategies. Next steps for the standardization is to align with respecting the standardization bodies, try to see how we can fill the gaps and probably provide some white papers about that. Try to liaison with the respective mailing links and working groups of the main industry associations, or to have some demonstration or position papers at the relevant events of highly importance. And also to monitor the AI Act consultations, be able to submit position papers targeting different types of fora, either about European health data spaces or other types of smart cities marketplace, or according to the particular domain. As I concluded what comes to the HumAIne, the floor is now to the ENFIELD project. And Sabrina, I guess you can take the floor from here.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Pavlos. I will share my screen. Thank you very much, and hello everyone. So I am Sabrina Bianchi, and I work as Junior Project Manager for Maggioli. Today I am representing the ENFIELD project together with my colleague Alberto Casanova, who oversees exploitation, standardization, and policymaking activities within the project. So ENFIELD stands for European Lighthouse to Manifest Trustworthy and Green AI. The project started in September 2023 and will end in August 2026, which means that we have officially entered the final phase of this project. I will give a quick overview of the project mission before moving forward with the actual topic of this webinar. So ENFIELD aims to create a European Center of Excellence, contributing to advancing research in AI across specific and strategic industrial sectors like healthcare, energy, manufacturing, and space. ENFIELD also aims to promote collaboration among a wide variety of stakeholders, from researchers to policymakers and industry stakeholders. Finally, ENFIELD will actively contribute to policy development at European level, specifically by presenting a set of policy recommendations that will be made available in a white paper by the end of the project. So as far as its application domains are concerned, ENFIELD research activities are focused on the 4 industrial domains that I've mentioned before, so healthcare, energy, manufacturing, and space. And these sectors are interconnected with 4 pillars of artificial intelligence, which are, in our case, adaptive, green, human-centric, and trustworthy AI. The interconnection between these pillars and the industrial domains gives way to innovative and concrete use cases where the research conducted by our technical partners is focused on. So this is an overview of our consortium, which is made up of universities, research institutes, large enterprises, all bringing their different expertise and knowledge to the project. Before moving forward with the standardization, I would also like to invite you to visit our social media pages and website if you want to know more about ENFIELD. These channels will give you more information than I could ever be able to provide in these few minutes of presentation. ENFIELD recognizes the role of standardization in driving the innovation potential of its project outcomes and seeks alignment with the existing standards. ENFIELD aims to contribute to the standardization process at European level by leveraging the project's innovative outcomes and strives to establish valuable liaisons with the standard developing bodies, which in this case are key stakeholders for us. In fact, the connection with these organizations is a fundamental step when structuring the ENFIELD proposal, as discussions with experts offer critical insight into policy issues, priorities, and the EU research agenda. Moreover, their expertise is fundamental to gather feedback and gain access to working groups, and particularly to convert our research results into market-ready products that can impact such an innovative landscape as the one of AI in Europe can be. And the final goal is obviously to contribute to the evolution of relevant standards. So this strategy has translated into an actual action plan that we have implemented throughout our 3 years of the project. Firstly, by defining our objectives. This was obviously done in the early stages of the project lifetime by identifying relevant standards and existing gaps that we believe that we could actively contribute to through our research activities in ENFIELD. And we have also mapped relevant standard developing organizations that, as I mentioned before, are fundamental to gather feedback, to present our solutions and understanding how to position them in the overall standardization process. It was obviously fundamental also to document this process and to keep track of our ongoing efforts, all the while coordinating with our project partners that bring their valuable research into these activities. So today we bring some examples of how ENFIELD research is contributing to existing standards, particularly focusing on the 4 pillars that I've mentioned before. So we have green AI metrics and frameworks with methodologies to measure and reduce the AI's carbon footprint, and the related results that our partners are working on, so block counting and Melody. Then we have trustworthy AI architectures with frameworks for explainability, robustness, and privacy by design. And the related outcome in this case is physics-informed neural networks. Then we have human-centric AI with methods for symbolic and interpretable models aligned with user control and oversight, with our results that are satellite imaging and eco-retina. And finally, adaptive AI, so federated learning approaches and cybersecurity frameworks for distributed systems with the smart city energy grids. So ENFIELD aligns with these standards that you can also see in the slides. And we want to ensure compliance with this standard, just as we believe that we can contribute to the evolution of them. And in this context, it is fundamental for us to collaborate with specific associations, among which the Other Association, GaiaX, and BDVA, which were also introduced before. These are some of the key organizations that are well known for conducting standardization activities. And they act as forums for us to present our work and understand how to positively and actively contribute to standards by participating, for example, in working and topic groups. So thank you very much for the attention. If you have questions, we remain available, or you can also reach out to us. I included our email addresses, as we are the ones responsible for standardization efforts in the project. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Sabrina, and as well Pavlos, for the great overview of what standards are and how they're used in European projects, the importance of them as well as what both HumAIne and ENFIELD is working on, what their domains are within the standards, and how they're contributing to policy recommendations. So at this time, we have about 10 minutes left in our session for today. And so I'd like to open up the floor for any possible questions that might be out there. We haven't received any in the chat, but that doesn't mean that that doesn't mean that nobody has any. So while we're maybe waiting for some questions, I will go ahead and pose one question to both of you, Sabrina and Pavlos. So from, I guess, the pilot perspective or the domain perspective, have you noticed that there are any specific domains that really are lacking already established standards, or maybe ones that are way more advanced? I guess where is that need strongest within each of the projects? Is the question clear, or should I reformulate?
Yes, Brian, okay, it's not such thing that this is more important for this particular domain, or this standard are more important on that other particular domain. As you saw in the presentation of HumAIne, we have a diverse sectors coming from smart manufacturing, smart cities, smart healthcare, etc. So there are, for each particular, let's say, there are some things that are more important. For instance, when it comes to smart healthcare, mostly there is a high risk AI systems that needs to have more control, more human in the loop to be able to see and to intervene, let's say, the diagnosis. As you can see, it's a high risk thing, a high risk system that decide about your health and to be able to diagnose whatever situation you might have. Whereas in other use cases that we have, for instance, smart energy might not be that more important. However, still, let's say, influence the the life of the human, the life of the humans. For instance, if you have an overall blackout, this is something of very importance, but it's not cannot be considered as high risky. Also, regarding other parts like smart finance, there are a lot of more different regulatory constraints there. So human AI system will also be able to be compliant with this regulatory framework. So there is a different parts that needs to be taken there. Or for instance, in smart cities, this involves with the overall the daily life routine of the citizen. So if you have systems that interact with the traffic in the roads, and then you have something that messes up, and then you have a total mess in the overall, traffic. You have the traffic jams all over the city, that might causes several hours of people waiting in the cars. So this also implies, how is your life there. So this is also can be defined as more highly risky than, other type of AI systems. So there is difference according to the different sectors, but there are also, when we are coming to the human AI collaborative systems, there are the common principles that need to be tackled, and that's what we have identified. Even if we have this diversity in the sectors, for instance, explainability features are mostly needed everywhere, so that will increase, the trustworthiness of the systems. That also, puts have the specific requirements for the human in the loop. So there are things that are, let's say, across sectors, but each of the sectors addresses different types of topics, so different. So that requires different layers of risk, so different mitigation strategies and different types of risk management. So as we are seeing in the HumAIne, we have mostly we tackle almost all these parts regarding to the specific use case, but there are things that are horizontal and should be tackled by all the use cases. I'm pretty sure that the same thing goes to ENFIELD. Sabrina can also tell us about that, but this is what we are experiencing nowadays in this current EU project that we are all involved.
Yes, I would say that more or less it is the same when it comes to ENFIELD. If I can add something, I would also say that potentially you can always find gaps in everything, because as we know, AI has known a considerable push in the latest years. And so it is still an ongoing process to really tackle all of these gaps in its application. Yeah, I would say that, for example, the European Union is making a lot of effort in this case to understand how to fill in with all the uncertainty and the doubts that at this point I believe are still normal in a way.
Okay, thank you both.